Hey everybody, it's Richard T. Fields here, and today is part 5 of the filmmaking series where I take you through the filmmaking process from start to finish. Welcome to the filmmaking series. Today we will dive into the post-production process and discuss the best ways to get started with your edit. First things first, let's get organized. Now, I might be one of those people who takes this way too seriously, but to be completely honest, I cannot stand when I hop into somebody else's premiere project and all their footage and all their assets is just all over the place. So for my own sanity, I need to start off by organizing my bins, organizing my footage, and the place that I actually do this is outside of Premiere. For me, the organization process starts from the moment I dump my footage. I create a folder outside of Premiere for each asset of my project, whether it be interviews, B-roll, certain locations, you name it. This way, when it's time for me to edit and import my footage into Premiere, I can just import these folders into Premiere and all of my footage is already organized because these folders have now become my bins. The next thing that I want to do for my editing process is to create a sequence that matches my project. For this project, I shot some of my footage in 4K and some of my footage at 1080 HD. For my sequence settings, I'm going to go ahead and set it to 1080 HD since I'm working off of an older machine. Another reason for this decision is the footage that I primarily shot in 4K is mostly the interview. And I know for my finished product, I'm gonna want the interview to be covered up with B-roll for the majority of the project. Next step for getting started with editing a project like this is building the selects. Now, selects are simply the best sound bites, the best shots that you got out in the field or from your interview and putting those into a timeline. I highly recommend starting with your interview footage as this audio source will be the main meat, the main substance for your story. This process can take a lot of time. Depending on how much interview footage you have, you're gonna need to sit through and listen to all of the sound bites. And anything that you think you might want to use, take it, set your in and out points, and drop it into the timeline. You can do the same exact thing for B-roll. However, since I shot this project and I'm already pretty familiar with what the B-roll is, I chose not to do this as I already organized my footage in a way that it's easy for me to find everything. After I've chosen all of my interview selects and dropped them into the timeline, the next thing that I do is duplicate that sequence. This way, I have my original sequence with all of my selects, and this new sequence I'm gonna use to start trimming down, cutting out the fat, and starting my edit. This way, I can have another timeline that has all of my selects in it, just in case I delete something by accident, or when I trim down the timeline to the size that I want it to be, if something doesn't make sense or something's just not working right, I can easily go back and scrub through my other timeline and find the appropriate selects and the great sound bites that I'm looking for without having to sit there, go back to the original clips and look through the entire interview all over again. And that's it. Now that you have the main meat of your story in your timeline, you can then go through your B-roll and drop it in as necessary. And the remaining parts is really just finessing your edit until you can get to your picture lock. That's it for today. I hope you found this information useful. If you did and you enjoyed this content, feel free to go ahead and hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and while you're at it, drop me a comment in the comment section below. Remember, this is only part 5 of the filmmaking series where I take you through the filmmaking process from start to finish. So if you're enjoying this content and finding it useful, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those alerts on so you don't miss out. Next week, I will wrap this up with the final video of the post-production process, taking you through the color grade, the sound design, and the final export. So please tune in. You do not want to miss this. Until next time, I'm Richard T. Fields, and I'll see you next week.